Is there any concern that you would like to share about your practice, about what's going on, or whatever? Anything at all? Yes?
Like, I always remember being mindful when you walk here, but I forget when I go outside.
When you say you forget, you completely forget and then you come back to being mindful, or is that, how long does it take to go back to being mindful?
Just need more practice, I guess.
Yes. Just habit. That's all. It's about springtime. Some of you will start working on your yard, cleaning, pulling the weeds out. Some of you do that. Is it hard to clean the weeds, the grass? I started doing it about 2-3 days ago. One thing I learned is that I myself, I do it very carefully, but there are still roots. You cannot get rid of all of them. You pull them out, you thought that, oh, this is good. You thought that you have a good, clean ground, but as you dig a little bit deeper, you see that there are roots, some of which go very shallow, some of which goes very deep down in the ground. And the more I dig, the more I see that there are more and more and more to it. Same thing with the mind. When we sit down, we try to clear it out. Once in a while, we have a very good empty space, and we thought that, oh, this is good. Or some of us experience such. For a long time, we don't get an affliction, we don't get some kind of defilement in the mind, and we thought that, oh, I'm in some sort of enlightenment. As of you're sitting right now, I'm sure that none of you are having some sort of anger or anxious or whatsoever. You're just listening. But once you walk out of here, when the condition is right, then bam, you're angry. Then bam, you're sad. Or you're happy. So those mental states comes with a condition, or sometimes, there's no need any kind of condition. It just comes, all of a sudden you become blue and you don't know why. And remember that this is part of the mental working state. This is how the mind is. Last time that we talked a little bit about meditation is just like sit down and watch a movie of the mind, where the mind is everything. But we are watching it with a superficial value, because we can see what's going on with the sound. Just like that, you count yourself 1, 2, 3 in your mind, or with the pictures, which that you remember that your last vacation, or your contemplation about going to market for tomorrow, such and such. But like deeper root, can we catch the motivation of which is what's going on? That's more important. The more that we pay attention, or we say that the power of mindfulness, we will see everything just like that. A super telescope which can see very, very far, even though that we thought it's not there, but actually it's there. Once you sit down, you close your eyes, and then at first you have a sense of open awareness, which is all 6 senses are opening. But then you begin to narrow it down by shutting it down 5 senses, and then the only thing is working the mind. And right there we can really investigate what mind is. Sometimes, and I know for sure that some of you getting really bored about listening to the same subject all the times, because there's nothing else to talk about other than the mind and its consciousness. If you become bored for that subject, then perhaps we can pay more attention to it. And we're going to find out that there are so many things interesting about the mind. I attend a couple of retreats led by Goenka Ji in the Goenka style. He emphasized in the first 3 days, he emphasized about the concentration on the sensation. At first, a relatively good size of area for one to attend to, but then it's become smaller, and smaller, until that it becomes so narrow, so tiny point that you can feel. And in that tiny point, there are so many different kinds of sensations, so many different kinds. A whole new world which we never pay attention before, but it actually exists. Same thing with the mind. If we keep digging into it, and then we see a whole different world, we have a habit of reaching out, but we don't have a habit of turning back in, because of the temptation of the sixth sense, external sixth sense, the external objects toward the sixth sense base. And that's why that we get lost all the times. But now, instead of reaching out, we are reaching in to see what's going on. You come here only for what reason? To be happy. And reaching out has nothing to do with it. Because if we want to be happy, we have to understand who we are, what we are. And all of those is nothing than what mind is. So 7 days a week, because of work, because of the situation in which you are in, you're reaching out. Here we have half an hour to be turned ourselves in, to see what's going on. And by this process, you can even solve the mysterious question about death. I don't know, I'm very interested in death. That's the most fear subject to everyone. But by reaching in, we might solve that problem. Once that you solve that problem, you become happier. Life becomes more meaningful. I don't know, but lately that I promote love and kindness and compassion a lot. I don't know why. But once you eradicate the fear of death, then you become engaged yourself into the interaction with society, with people, and there's nothing else than love and compassion. And you become very happy for that. I don't know why, but I felt myself like that. Solving the question of death? I don't know yet. I don't know. But I have some confidence of what's going on about death. Maybe because of that, life has become easier. Well, enough said about that. Can you share some of your perspectives, please? Yes.
This is just my point of view. I don't think I fear being dead. I fear the process of dying. I'm more afraid of being alive than being dead. When I'm dead, I don't have to look for a job again, never have to fill out a job application, never have to go to another job interview, never have to worry about money again. So but I am concerned about how it's going to happen. Is it going to be prolonged, painful, suffering? But once it's over, yeah, wow, it's done. Salvation. I believe in heaven, that's why.
I'm going to say this, but don't believe in me. Okay? This body, this alive being comprises of the material, which is the body, and the mind. So when the body is no longer, or for some reason it cannot retain the mind anymore, then the mind becomes parted with the body. As of right now, mind and body congeal like this. But once it's depart, the very threshold moment of parting, there is no fear, there's nothing going on anymore. Maybe that is the state that you're talking about, but right now, as of right now, there is still fear in us, like what you have just said earlier. Because of you still worry about this, worry about that, worry about here and there, money, job, whatsoever, pain. That is fear that hidden beneath, that we haven't reached yet. Because when there's no fear, it doesn't matter if we have money or we don't. It doesn't matter if we have a job or we don't. Completely, the mind becomes very equanimous. From there, then we say that we are not afraid of fear of death anymore. But right now, we need that. There is a condition for which we are feared of death, but we don't recognize it. Try that. And like I said, look deep inside, and then we can find that. It's very interesting. one of which is plays predominantly in us is the fear. Because of fear, and that's why when we sit so long, we have to move. It's very easy to catch that. We fear for everything. Maybe because of the fear that drives us into mobilized and such. So if we can solve the problem of fear, oh boy, everything will be heavenly, I think. Please.
You know, lately I've been like, for me, the fear of my loved ones dying. And well, I love my sisters so much, the attachment and the support I get from them and the time we spend together. So lately, when I spend time with them, I get to envision what's gonna happen if they die. I don't know, not so much about when I die, you know, but more when they die. What's gonna happen to me, you know? And I try to talk to them and show them more love. I guess maybe I don't regret because that's the only thing I could try. That's the only thing I could control right now. But yeah, and the same with my mom, you know. And sometimes I'll have dreams too, and then I'll call her right away, you know, and I'll tell her about the dream, you know. But that's as far as when you spoke right now about death. I see how my body is aging, and that's a lot of fear because I feel like they're dead already, you know. Ishmael would tell you my knees are calling me every time I'm going down the stairs, like crick, 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 crick. That never used to happen when I was younger, you know. Right now I'm sitting, my hips are like, crick, 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 like I'm breaking already, you know. So I feel like I'm already mourning my death every single day, you know. Yeah.
I don't know that yesterday I listened to the conversation of the guy, Google guy, about AI. Now AI is very fearsome. It learns so quick. I don't know that because of the programming of it was or itself, but I try to simulate the mind. The mind itself learns very quick too. The attachment, which I'm trying to express. I went home Vietnam a couple weeks. A grand-niece. He called me a grand-uncle because of her grandma is my sister. She's only 9 years old. We become bonded. And when I come back here, to tell you the truth that I got attached to her, I kept thinking about her. Kept thinking about a good time that we had. That's the attachment. And that attachment, it becomes fear. Fear of what? Because of the mental imagination. Oh, what happened if she's sick. What happens if she doesn't have enough nutrition, such and such and such and such. To narrow down in a short story, fear and attachment. But the thing is that we get lost in one of those, or both. We identify ourselves to it. Then fear and attachment becomes reality. And we have forgotten that fear and attachment is a mental state. You don't remember your loved one all the times, just sometimes, right? So, whatever comes and have a tendency of going, then it's not you. But whatever aware of all of those tendencies, then you can consider it's you for the time now. We try to use some sort of identification so we don't have to go far beyond enlightenment, such and such, and so on. But if, like I say again, in mindfulness, one mental state which creates mindfulness is that remembering. If you remember, oh, this is the mental state, then you go back to your equanimity right away. Much less to say that if your loved one is departing you. My mom is 86. She's I'm telling you, she's very frail. I psych myself that the day that she's no longer here, I psych myself that. The thing is that the reality of life is that being alive, then there is the final. We cannot escape it. And if we contemplate deeply into the impermanent nature of such, we can find the beauty of it, the beauty of existence, and then depart. So from there that I don't feel any kind of sadness if my loved one is gone. Don't say that I don't have emotion. I do have emotion, but it's just part of life, which no one can alter it. You don't wish to become immortal. You don't wish to become one of those. Imagine that if you live forever, what quality of life's gonna be. So the moment of impermanence is so beautiful. Take that. And then we have no fear or sad over what we call unfortunate. The human's tendency, we often looking for good and reject bad. But is it fair just for having good forever or having bad forever? No. So when we understand the balance of the extremists, we become compassionate. We don't blame on much. It's so ridiculous that Russia invaded Ukraine. But it happened. Why? This is part of the mind working. There are more words to it if we look into it too. So, like I said, when you understand what mind is, we become equanimous. That's what I meant. Less blaming, more joyful. Yes?
When you think about death, the fear, the reason that you fear, when the mind wanders off, when you're not present, when the mind wanders to the future, fear manifests. Why? Because we don't know what about the future, right? We don't know anything about the future. That's why fear is there. Whenever fear, for example, you see a bear, you're fearful. What are you fearful of? You're not fearful because the bear is there, but you're fearful about what's going to happen next. Is it going to charge you? Right? Now it charged you, now you're fearful. But what are you fearful now? It's already charging you already know that. But what you're fearful is it going to bite you? Right? So, and on and on and on. Even if it bites you, then you're not fearful about the bite because you're being bitten right now, right? But you're fearful about death. You see? So when the mind is in the future, fear manifests. And how do we get away from that? And the mind, and for example, for your loved one, you're fearful that they'll die, right? When we get attached to something so much, and we want to hold on to that moment, clinging, right? There's always resistance in the mind to that. So the mind starts to create images about your condition, and it travels out there. When it travels out there, fear is existing there because you know what happens. So you start to think about death. If I'm going to lose that person, I'm going to lose my loved one. You know, that creates stress for you, right? So the best way to deal with that is come back to the present. Redirect the energy, you focus on the present. So you're enjoying your niece, perhaps, right? So redirect your intention and attention to your activity with your niece and enjoy that moment. The mind will travel. You just bring it back. That's why we practice meditation. The whole purpose of meditation is to bring yourself back. Back to what? Back to the present. So there are three phases in meditation, just like three phases of the mind that constantly revolve itself. You're present, you're attentive. You lose that, the mind travel either to the past or to the future. Right? The future brings fear, the past brings regrets. Right? So when we meditate, we have good attention, we focus on the breath, focus on something. We lose that. That's the second phase of meditation. Third phase is you will, at one moment, remember, I'm supposed to be focusing. So you just bring yourself back. Same thing when you have that thought of losing someone. That's not reality. That's a fabrication of the mind, right? So all you do is come back to the present. The best way to do that is to break up the energy. How? 3 breaths. Take 3 intentional breath. What does it do? That de-stresses the body on the physical realm. It refocuses the mind because now you're focused on the breath, right? So the breath only happens in the present moment. So you're actually bringing yourself back to the present moment. And you continue. When the mind travels, you do this all the time. That's the whole purpose for mindfulness practice, is to bring yourself to the present. So whether you sit and something reminds you of something that happened a year ago that brings you suffering, sadness or something like that, it's the same thing. The mind travel, you just bring yourself back to the present. That's how you deal with that. Right?
I'm going to touch on that a little bit more. As you are present, as you are mindful right now, the mindfulness in which you are right now is conditioned because of fear. Because of fear, that's why that you are mindful. Look into that. It's very interesting. If there's no fear, there's no need to go back to the present moment. Very interesting on that point. Look into it.
Thank you. I've noticed that many times I have a persistent thought. It's very specific, and it's like emotion charged kind of a thought. Became very interesting because I notice it when I'm feeling peaceful, and here it comes. And I guess I've been exploring that a bit. There's maybe some repressed emotion, because I feel like it's so intentional. It's trying to pull me out of the moment. So I've been just exploring that. If you have anything to share.
Process of learning. You learned from all of which. You see what's going on. You understand. Then that understanding brings no fear. Because of even fear itself, it's a mental state. Everything, remember, everything is a mental state. Everything. Suppress, repress, such and such. It's a mental state. Mindful is a mental state. Compassion is a mental state. Love is a mental state. Whatever arises, we recognize it. And, like I said, let go. That's it. Very, very simple and yet very artistic. to letting go measures how deep one practices, because of this happen a lot in temple among monks. We have a tendency to talk a lot, but when we face the reality, that is the real test of you really let go easy, and that person has real deep practice, because of for a clever mind, we can easily absorb such a data. But for the reality, it's not that easy. Reality is to put all data into practice, into what we are, what's going on. So when during the practice we become discouraged when defilements arise, but as we deepen our practice, sometimes it's just like that. Oh, for a while we don't see any defilement, so please come so I can test myself in such and such. So, like I said, that there is a reason for you to come here. And number one reason is that fear. There's a reason for you to be mindful. Fear. But you have to look deep inside to see the cause of it. Imagine that a person has no fear. Now, I'm not talking about a reckless person, okay? A person with a high realization, he has no fear, and he doesn't need mindfulness. What comes, go, comes, go, comes, go. And the shortest way works. Yet I think this is the only way, is that to probe deep into the nature of the mind, and then we can see everything's going on. And once we understand it, oh, this is part of the mind working, we have a wisdom to it, then we become, like I said again, that we go back to being compassion, like that. Yes?
To understand the mind, how much time and what practices one can do? I did Vipassana for 10 days, and I felt time was not enough to really see more. So doing like 20 days of or 45, do you think that would help, or one can?
To understand the mind, it would take a lifetime. Like I said, to understand the mind take a lifetime, or even lives after life after life, because it's so vast. Can we count how many objects, how many existent objects right now with your six senses, sense base? Trillion, zillions, quadrillions, what, so much. And this is how the mind is. But one lucky thing is that if we can understand the overall scope of what mind is, then from there we begin to have a good sense of happiness. Just like that, all of the mental state you experienced through, we learn from that, and we let go. Oh, this is how mind works. Yeah, very simple. Very simple. This is how mind works. This is not I, not me, not you. Even that when you are mindful right now, it's not you that's mindful. It's the mind that is being mindful. When we see that, is there a market there? No, there's no market. No yatam, no. And from there, we see the emptiness. We understand the totality of what emptiness is. Okay. I hope that we can reach the point of emptiness to eradicate what fear is, what death is. And from there, life becomes more meaningful to mankind.